Christopher, look what we have back in the United States and back on the show. Kyle Mills. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Cheers.
Awesome. Always to
The
see you,
crew
Kyle.
review cut.
He's got the right shirt. He's got the right glass. He's got the
Yep,
right
I can show the
attitude.
whole shirt here.
That's right.
Mitch
There we
Rapp
go.
lives.
Kyle had the crew reviews glass overseas in Spain, but
Did
it was
have that.
he
He
had
knew,
a- he had
what,
a
he knew what important things to take with him when he got
Yeah,
over
well,
there. Yeah,
The
that's
problem
right.
with these glasses, so they're super delicate.
isn't it? I know. It's so
I
you
know.
gotta-
It's like a
Yeah,
you
champagne
got to really
glass.
treat them with care. Like I don't even hold on to the logo. I just
Please
like,
don't.
touch it.
Yeah.
Don't
let it
even
get
look
wet.
at it. Don't
put
even
heat.
look at it.
It's really just for show.
All right. Well, speaking of Mitch Rapp Lives, this book is phenomenal. And holy cow. Mitch Rapp is back in Oath of Loyalty, and you're back home with the crew here.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
once again, can you give our audience a quick overview of what is in store for Mitch this time around?
Yeah. So this picks up right after the last book. Well, honestly, it picks up before that. I rewrote the last chapter of Enemy at the Gates from Mitch's point of view. It was from a different character's point of view.
Yep.
So there wouldn't skip, and you'd have all that backstory.
Yeah.
And it kind of rolls. In a way, it's one book split into two, and this one is about kind of closing out this arc about him with the president that they can't stand each other. And initially, this was going to be a really long arc about the fall of American democracy from within, but with January 6th and all the talk about stolen elections and everything, I had to kind of back out of that and do a bunch of rewriting because it felt a little too on the nose.
Right.
Yeah.
So so this is the end of at the end of Enemy at the Gates, you had the Mitch and the president really pissed off at each other, and this is the continuation of that.
Yeah.
Mike, let me just jump. Can I just jump in real quick? Because when I started reading this, we get a lot of books to read, right? And so our to be read pile is pretty high. This one gets on there. I crack it open, and I was like, "Wait a minute, am I rereading the last book?" I'm like, "Wait, this is so familiar. What's going on here?" And then I was just like, "Oh no, wait a minute!" So I love that story device. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was trying to think about how to get all that in there, and this conversation between Mitch and Irene or something, and I thought, I know it's pretty much already written. It's just I added some scenes that they referred to in it and kind of added that in there, so it would be just like a different view of the same scene. I like point of view because everybody sees the same set of facts differently.
Yeah. Well, that's what it felt like. It felt like I've just turned to the next page after the last book. So, and then holy crap, things got real personal real quick at the beginning of this book.
Yeah.
But when you were doing that rewrite, had you been planning on how kind of the opening scene it was going to kick off, or did it kind of surprise you in how it transitioned in the way it actually is written? Because holy crap, man, I did not see that coming for a country mile.
Well, originally it was going to be a much longer arc, and it was going to be a lot about the machinations of how you would bring down America's democracy and all this, and Mitch and Irene fighting against that. So this is a very different book than I had planned on. And I kind of wanted to do it more as an action thriller.
Yeah.
Because in a way, I was kind of painting myself out of a corner that I had gotten myself into with Enemy at the Gates, but that made me more cognizant of, but it has to be a great story. It has to really move. It can't just be, a bunch of people, in the White House talking about, what their plans or whatever.
Right.
So that's when I came up with this to draw it in and make it a very personal battle between two men, not necessarily the president and Mitch, but these two guys who hate each other, one of whom, the president, has an enormous amount of power, enormous amount of resources, and that Mitch has to kind of battle on more or less on his own.
Right. Yeah, that opening, I was like, wait, what? Did I just read that right?
We recently had the opportunity to talk with William Kent Kruger about his latest novel, Fox Creek, and he said pace was important to keep suspense, but that conflict drives great stories. And there's sure a shit ton of conflict in Oath of Loyalty, but also the pace is unrelenting.
Yeah.
And you pull it off so seamlessly. Like it's just, as an author, you want readers to want to turn the page, and you do that. You're an expert at it.
Yeah.
But for aspiring writers like me and a lot of our audience, how do you make sure the pace is good and that there's enough conflict? Does Kyle Mills have some kind of like unwritten rule when it comes to that?
No, not really. I used to think about it, I think, in more of a, I don't know, in really more concrete terms. But now I just think about, I don't even think about cliffhangers. I know a lot of authors will do cliffhangers kind of at the end of every chapter, but I don't really do that. 'Cause to me, the arc itself, you've got that build to the denouement, and you don't want to have too many people involved, but they all have to be somehow interrelated. And I wish I could, I don't know, I wish I had like some sort of secret to it, but it's sort of just writing what I like, and like would I want to turn the page if I read this, and
Because
creating interesting characters. Really.
Yeah, you have those interesting characters and you have all those point of views, and they all, like you're saying, they're all doing one thing, but it's all part of this one story arc. But you also have the arc of the chapter, like you start it off well and then you close it out, but it makes the reader want to turn to the next page. And I was really hoping you'd be like, well, Chris, this is what I do.
This is exactly how you do it, Chris.
I don't know. I did, to be honest with you. I don't know.
That doesn't help me,
I
Kyle.
write a story I'd want to read, right?
It's natural.
God, I can't replicate that.
Well, I had an editor a while back tell me that there were 2 things that you never put in your book. Yep. Well, you went and did one of them.
Yeah, you did
both. Damn.
And there's
you almost did both. He almost did both.
There's so many things in this book that I don't want to spoil for people that I really want to talk about. So I'm going to talk about this in kind of a roundabout fashion. There's a scene. It's in Africa. We won't talk about the spoilerage here. That you don't go into any graphic detail, but what happens might be kind of upsetting to a certain section of the population. And let's just say, when the action kicks off in this scene and the gate is blown open, there's certain activities that occur, and well, then that thing happens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, were you worried about offending a certain part of the population, or like getting some hate mail?
I read that twice, by the way.
Are you? I think I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Are they like friends?
Anna gets very upset about. She gets very upset about it. Anna gets very upset about it.
Yeah,
rightfully so.
But that wasn't in there originally, and then I realized, oh my God, like they're there.
Something's got to happen.
It's something has to. Something has to happen. So
they did a good job. They did a good job.
Yeah.
I didn't really even want to broach it, but that it seemed like a total cop out. It's kind of like,
okay,
they were off at the.
I can't wait to see your emails light up on this one.
There's so many. There's so many weird little cop outs you can do. Oh, they were off on vacation.
Yeah.
I really did. I read that twice. I'm like, no, he didn't go there, did he? I'm like, no, he did. He did.
And I didn't. There. I honestly didn't want to, but it just seemed.
Well, but
like,
logically speaking, that was going to happen, right?
You had to.
Speaking, it was going to happen. It just was. But
it's their job, man.
I know, but
I love. There's a conversation between. I don't want to give spoiler. I don't think this will give it away. But there's a conversation between Mitch and he's having a hard time describing or talk to her because he's worried about like saying the wrong thing. But Scott comes in and he just says it, and he's like, "I'm so jealous of Scott being able just to say that stuff and to get past that, not actually worry about every single word he's saying to the little girl." But anyway,
Scott's a natural. That's one of the reasons I really like their relationship, and that I've really built that character from where Vince started him, is because in some ways he's a little bit the anti-Mitch.
Yeah.
Mitch could be a little abrasive and kind of a hard ass, and Scott's just really likable.
Yeah.
You get a good taste of Scott in this book, so I really readers are going to really appreciate that. But they also in Oath of Loyalty, you wrote a chapter from Joe Maslick's point of view, where he's reflecting on everything that happened. And I when I read, I put post-its on chapters or passages that I like, or just hit me in a certain way. And this one did. And so I'm just going to read it real quick. Families, this is from Maslick's point of view. Families were being torn apart. Lifelong friendships were ending. No one believed in anything real anymore. No one would acknowledge that they owed America a debt, not the other way around. So as I read that passage, it kind of hit close to home. And I was wondering if that was a little bit of Kyle Mills' observation of the real world today coming through Maslick's internal thoughts.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I come back to the United States, and after you've stepped away from it for a while, it's interesting. I mean, and depressing, I think, about the internal battles going on in the United States, but also there's my sense of America right now is that we don't appreciate what we have.
Yeah, no kidding.
And maybe it's because we know most of us never go anywhere. But I mean, I got to tell you, I've traveled a lot of the world, and we've got it pretty good. And nobody ever just sits down and is like, yeah, shit, this is pretty good. I mean, where I live in Granada, most of the houses don't have heat. And when somebody tells you southern Spain doesn't get cold, they're lying to you. It gets really cold. Jeez. And, you're like, it's pretty good.
Basics.
Here. Or you go to Hungary, I've spent some time there or whatever. You think, the American people, I think they've lived with this democracy and they lived with having a country that's so great for so long. I think they're starting to look for stuff to complain about. And I mean, there are certainly people have valid complaints, I'm sure, certainly about the United States, but we do it pretty well. I mean, it's a pretty nice place to live. Take it from a guy that doesn't live here full time. When I come back, I remember that's a pretty nice place.
Yeah.
I wonder. So you shed a little bit of light on how the story originally had a little bit more of a not so much of a January 6th feeling, but you changed the story because of January 6th. And I wonder if this was one of the parts that you didn't change.
Yeah, I mean, that sentiment for sure would have been really prevalent in that arc. It's just democracy was a Barack Obama that used the word messy. It's a great word for it. The thing is, sometimes your guy isn't in power. Sometimes it's the guy you hate. And it's that's the challenge of democracy that a lot of countries have failed to be able to wrap their arms around. The Arab Spring.
Yeah.
It sounds like everybody was psyched up. We're going to have democracy. We're going to get rid of this dictator. And then they realized, oh crap, I hate that guy. And now he's in power.
Yeah. Muslim Brotherhood.
Put a Muslim Brotherhood guy.
Yeah, Muslim Brotherhood in charge of Egypt.
Whoever. Yeah. It's like a back and forth, right? So,
but at the same time,
it's a hard thing to quantify.
At the same time, Kyle, I think the Chinese look at us and they make fun of our democracy because we can't have this really long, they have this like 50-year, 100-year plan. We really can't have something like that because our administrations, at least from the executive branch and even our congresspersons, they, elections every 2 years and then, a national election for the president every 4 years. And so the policies and the direction of the country change all the time. So yeah, it is. It's completely messy. But at the same time,
it's produced a really good. I mean, is it Churchill that said democracy is or was it capitalism? I can't remember. It's the worst. It's the worst system except for all the others that have been tried.
That's capitalism. I think we're talking about
capitalism.
Capitalism, yeah.
But democracy kind of the same way, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And I think maybe people are starting to take it for granted. But I've spent time in China too, and they like to toot their own horn and everything, but you don't want to live in China.
No.
Trust me.
No.
So you don't want to live in Russia. Maybe a lot of people are impressed with Vladimir Putin being a strong man, tough guy, looks good on a horse without a shirt, but
does he? Yeah. Does he, Kyle? Does he really look good on a horse without a shirt?
So. Well, he looks better than me.
I thought Mike would jump in on that one.
I'm gonna stay out of that.
Not a place you want to live.
No, you don't.
So
no.
Well, while you were living in Spain and you wrote, I mean, even though you kind of backed off a little bit on this, you're still writing about U.S. a current fictional political system, kind of fictional, but there's some fact maybe thrown in there. And so when you were in Spain, you wrote about it, where was it being taken by the direction that our country's going by the elected elite has some eerily similarities to it in the book as our current track. So does it help you to write that from the outside looking in for some clarity or is there's the white noise everywhere now and you can't get away from that no matter where you're parking your bag at the time?
Well, it's actually a perfect situation because you can still get, U.S. news. I mean, I remember when I lived in London in the 80s, you read the London Times. You didn't really know that much about what was going in the United States. Now, obviously, it's much easier.
Yeah.
But it's the juxtaposition of cultures between the United States and Spain, and also, Spanish people. When you're talking to them, they're very political. They love a good political debate.
Oh, really?
And they have a lot of interesting questions, and you think, wow, I never really thought about it that way. So, and how do I explain that? I really can't. I've always just taken it for granted. So, and the Spanish also have an interesting perspective on democracy because, they lived under a really brutal dictatorship until
kings, dictators.
I was in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, they finally got rid of him when I was in high school. So, they really value it. And to some extent, maybe they've overcorrected, but, you can understand why. So.
And the pendulum swings in both directions, right? So.
Yeah, and it's you really want it kind of right in the center. And I feel like humanity likes to,
since you've spent a lot of time in southern Spain, and speaking of the pendulum, where is it? And we're getting off a little topic here, but where is it in Spanish society? Is it more progressive? Is it more conservative or nationalistic? Like, where is that?
It's a bit of it depends on where you are in Spain. It's just like the United States. They've got their Californians and their Texases, right?
Right.
So, and then they have their separatists and
oh my gosh, totally forgot about that, right?
Yeah.
They never got their freedom, right?
Yeah, Catalan, and then they used to have really violent separates in the north who blew stuff up and murdered people.
There's the Basques.
The Basques.
Yeah, the Basques.
That doesn't really exist anymore. So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge, but I mean, it's a more liberal society. They're not particularly religious, but I don't know. I mean, maybe the liberalism is sort of settled onto them pretty well. Like, I don't know, you never hear anything about, I don't know, like gay people or trans people or anything like that.
It's just part of the culture.
They exist, but nobody cares one way or another.
But it's not like a lightning rod. It's not a focal point of like it's not part of the here in the States. It's that cultural war between progressiveness and I guess conservativeness or whatever you want to call it. Just constantly clashing in the media, in conversation in society, in our schools too, in education.
Yeah, and they don't have much of a culture war in that from like right to left. I mean, there's certainly like Catalan versus Spanish and all that, but they don't. I wouldn't say they have that strong sense. There's certainly an anti-immigration wing that would be on the right. Which I have to as an immigrant, I have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Get out, you dirty American.
And so, it's definitely interesting that it doesn't come down on cultural lines. So, for instance, vaccinations for COVID, that is just a non-political. It's just a healthcare thing to them. It's just that's always a conversation starter when you sit down with a Spaniard you've never talked to before. They're like, so what is it with the politics and the vaccination thing?
Half the stuff is just forced.
I don't know.
Yeah, no idea. because I think it's hilarious is the Trump administration started the vaccination thing, right? They started the vaccine, and then he didn't get reelected, and so then the vaccine was bad. like what? And before it was like the Democrats thought it was bad, and then the Republicans thought it was bad, and then it didn't make any sense. It
was very strange. Yeah. And it's just like a vaccine. It's a vaccine. We all got like 30 of them.
Yeah.
It was just a weird thing for suddenly. And I had always thought of the anti-vaccine. I'm kind of a science geek, so I listen to all these science podcasts.
Right.
And has always been an anti-vaccination movement, that was out there, but it was kind of crunchy, it was like hippie, holistic
fringe stuff.
Yeah, Colorado was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Oregon.
Yeah. But like the fact that the right picked it up, I thought was a really strange, like, alliance between the
it goes to show you
smoking, tie-dye crowd and the gun-toting pickup crowd. Finally found something they could agree on,
I guess.
That maybe flip-flops. All right, so let's go back to the books. So this is your 8th book, right? This is your 8th
in the series, yeah.
In the series, Mitch Rapp book. What stresses you most when you first start to plot out? And we know you're a plotter. The next Mitch Rapp book. Do you worry about having to up the ante of the threat he faces? Do you worry about completing or continuing Rapp's character arc, or do you worry about the next 2 or 3 books while plotting out the current one, making sure that you leave some wiggle room, or is it just a combination of all of that?
Wow, can I remember all those?
Yeah, no, sorry.
I do not plan multiple books ahead.
You know,
because the world changes too fast.
Yeah.
So if you want to try to meet it and make everything feel really current, you just can't go that far out. People ask me that. They're like, are these, a lot of people assume that these are all books that Vince had sort of outlined. And that I have this great box of infinite
Wouldn't that
ideas
be awesome
for Mitch Rapp, which would be
Too
awesome.
bad he didn't the synopsis.
Honestly,
like
when I did the first book, I thought that was the case.
Where
because
is
you don't
it?
started it. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's
where's the synopsis from Vince? Yeah.
Yeah, no. Good luck. It just stops right there. The last word's the. Nope, go.
Who knew he was a pantser, right?
Yeah.
And you are not, sir. You are
and
not.
I'm not.
Yeah.
So no, I do not do that. Upping the ante, no. I never really think about that. I think about telling a good story about good characters. And I can see that as kind of going up and down. I think about like Red War, where you have, a little passe now that Russia attacking Ukraine.
Yeah.
Huge stakes, right? Like these huge stakes, so military level, there are navies and everything working. And then, you can pull it back into something that's much more personal, but they all have, to me, the same impact. It's, you can write a great book about anything, it doesn't have to be some huge concept. So I don't worry about that.
What about the character arc of Rapp? Because it seems
I worry about.
Yeah, it seems like you kind of want to get to the end, but you have to hesitate, or you want to pull back maybe a little bit. Like, is that the most thing? Is that the thing you stress about the most?
Definitely. So writing a series character is hard. It's why I rarely did it under my own name. Because after, you've got the problem of all the baggage. You've got the problem of aging the character. So Vince had it a little easier. He was aging Mitch, realistically. Mitch now would be 56 because he's my age. And
forced retirement's coming up, 57.
Yeah. I mean, he would have probably gone into more of a mentor thing. He would have had young team and, Scott Coleman to be out fishing, and all that. Joe Mazzick would be super fat. And he could have, and then, you've got this really interesting arc where every year poses a new challenge, the injuries that hurt not as fast as I used to be, et cetera, et cetera. So but you can't have, on the other hand, you can't have a character that's static, because that's boring. Yeah. So Mitch kind of doesn't age, but maybe his attitudes age a little bit. And then a really big one that really is kind of like chaps me is Anna, because Anna's so obviously a child of X age. Yes. And then so I'm like, do I maybe age her but not Mitch? So but then at some point they be the same age.
Book 45.
She's 30 and Mitch is 45 still.
Yeah,
Wait
but
a minute.
she should like be kind of a tween now.
Yeah, she should.
Yeah. And which would be fun. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of material.
To saddle Mitch Rapp with a teenage daughter.
So Greg Hurwitz does something similar in Orphan X, where he has his main character and she's not a tween, but it's not his daughter. But they have this interaction where it forces him out of his comfort zone, kind of like what Anna does a little bit. And it's such a great story device. And I think
the tension is like amazing.
Yeah, I think it would just be great with Rapp as well. But yeah, you're right. Like, how do you age her and not age Mitch?
And then there's Claudia,
Yeah.
Got older. Yeah. So it's, someday poor Claudia's going to be 80, but Mitch will still be 44.
Hey, that happens.
You know, he'll be pushing Anna around in her wheelchair.
Yeah,
still killing bad guys.
Yeah,
that's what people want. That's what people want.
What is? And James Bond, doesn't get older and all that, but it does create a real problem for, the story, the character arc.
Yeah,
and then also, you have to be really careful about making specific statements about, whatever in fact, I was just talking to a military guy recently who had fought in Iraq, and I was like, yeah, well, I have to be really careful when I say anything about Mitch doing that, because then, I mean, that was a 50s. Long time ago. He'd be in his 50s. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like Robert Ludlum with the Bourne really fought in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So,
he'd be in his 70s.
Yeah. So it's, you can't, there's no answer.
Well, one thing about the Mitch Rapp books I love are some of the minor characters. Not really minor characters, but do you use, and just this is more like a process thing, do you use placeholders for minor characters when you write with the intention of like going back and filling in names and backstories, or do you specifically look for past characters you can use to fill necessary roles to make the story, progress?
A little bit of both. I mean, I like pulling stories out of the Rappverse or not stories, but characters, just because, Vince created a lot of cool characters. People have history, and people's history comes back to them, right? You don't see somebody for a long time, and then they reappear in your life. So I feel like that's kind of realistic.
Yeah.
So, but like, for instance, Hannah in this one, a character. She was never a major. I mean, she appeared at the end of Total Power, and for I don't know what, a chapter.
Yeah,
maybe. You didn't really know much about her, but she was an interesting character, and I thought would be an interesting foil for Mitch. And when I was trying to devise a character, then I thought, well, I've kind of got one that fits this mold. Why not just take one, from the past? Because
as a fan of the stories and Mitch Rapp and the Mitch Rapp verse, like, I love seeing that. I love seeing like some of the other minor characters or older characters pulled back into the story, because you go like, yeah, I know this person, I know, then you're like, yeah, you just it's familiar.
Yeah, even Claudia coming back.
Right.
Because I felt like Mitch needed a relationship, and I was going to create a whole new one for him. And then I thought, he had these kind of moments with Claudia in the past, and that might be interesting.
Yeah.
And it totally works.
And it was
in the story.
Well, it ends up being kind of pivotal in the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
I can't imagine you or anybody else writing Mitch Rapp at this point, but you. A lot of people are going to want to know, how many more books are you currently contracted out for?
This is my last one on this contract. So, but I haven't talked to anybody. I've been so flat out moving with the move and getting COVID.
Yeah.
And now with the tour, someday we're gonna have to talk about that. We all like to sit down and say, how things, kind of do a 3-year review. How are things going?
Just kind of see where you're at personally, right?
Yeah. Is everybody happy? Is the family happy with where the arc is going? And, all that kind of stuff.
Does Kyle want to start writing some of his own, under his own name, his own books again? But can I just say I want to see a 6-book contract?
Yeah, just
man.
But you write
so would I have written
figures?
more than Vince at that point? If I wrote 6 more, I think I would. Yeah, I would.
Wow.
8 figures? Can we do 8 figures?
Call his agent and recommend that.
Right? You're like definitely doing 6 books, 8 figures.
Yeah.
All that writing about private jets makes me want one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Just don't get duct taped.
Yeah.
And left on a tarmac.
Right.
So not giving away any spoilers because I'm notorious for that, but Rapp has to perform a trick bombing run that has devastating consequences. What kind of research went into crafting that into a believable scene? And did you reach out to anyone for that one?
Yeah, well, pilot.
Okay.
Because I don't know anything about planes at all. I'm like, can you open a door in a plane?
And just let it slide out? Was it Scott's foot that gets stuck for a second? I was like, oh my gosh, he's not going to. And I'm like, oh, wait, okay.
I'm like, not another one.
Yeah, no spoilers.
But yeah, so the piloting was hard. Like, thank God for the internet, trying to find like what bomb would be available and would work in that situation that was kind of surplusy. Because that's the thing with Mitch being cut off from his support system. You forget how important that was for him to you call in anything. And now
he's got none of that. Yeah,
he's got none of that. He's kind of like Claudia because of her criminal contacts, and Scott, military contacts. They're really having to kludge stuff together to do their ops.
Yeah. Well,
I gotta say though you hit so many different locales, and I was thinking, I finished the book and I go back and I think about, there was at one point he's in a car and people are getting shot and he's in like dirt roads, and I was like, holy crap, that feels like forever ago because there was so much going on in the story, and then some really amazing sets.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because he's got to stay out of sight. It's the thing.
Loved
if you're trying to stay out of sight from the U.S. government, that's not very easy, but. Ironically, he's really good at it because he's been on the other side of it, and
he knows what they're looking for. Yeah,
he knows how people do how to track terrorists.
Yeah.
So, but it's kind of an interesting, again, as he ages, he can look at things from different perspectives a little bit and get sucked into things he normally wouldn't have when he was younger. So, more of the character arc a little bit without him becoming. Without him needing a cane.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I want to know, whenever I've spent, an extended period of time overseas, whenever I came home, there was like something that I just like had to go eat or drink or do the minute I got back. So what did you miss the most about something back in the US? Because you were over in Spain for quite some time. What did you miss the most?
The Spanish. To have no concept of the hash brown.
So you went to Denny's?
So I was gonna say there's no Denny's over there.
No, and there's some kind of freaking hash brown shortage in America right now. Like I go to Albertsons and I'm like, I'm gonna just load up the whole cart, shove my freezer full of them, and there's like nothing. Had to go to like 3 stores.
COVID.
Kyle Mills searching for hash browns.
For hash browns. Oh man, I was so pissed. And but and it's funny because in Malaga, I was like, Kim was really sick and I had to go, I don't even like drop off the rental car or something. And I'm walking back and I see this thing that's called like America Breakfast. And
what was it?
Oh my God. And they had the whole thing like hash browns and sausage and bacon. Bacon also not a thing that's that common there. And like eggs. And I'm like, oh my God. So I like text Kim and I'm like, are you alive? Are you going to be okay if I'm like a half an hour late? It's a lot farther a walk than I thought. And I like scream in there and oh man, they gave me this. I swear to God, they don't have russet potatoes. They congealed these potatoes together and then they'd put them in the same fryer they used to do fish and chips.
Oh no.
I was so sad.
So it's a batter sandwich.
Oh my God. The tears were just
Oh, no, that's disgusting.
So you need to go to Atlanta, and there's a Waffle House on every exit. You just
True.
need to hit every exit
Waffle House.
along the highway there on your way out. Yeah.
And we
Are there Waffle Houses in Wyoming?
We used to have one in Jackson. There was a Waffle. I never set foot in it, I don't think, because we have this sort of famous place called Bubba's. And I always went there.
Well,
but we used to have a Denny's too, but
you should have spent more time there because you would have stayed open then. Yeah. so it's your fault that there's no hash
the
browns.
Denny's only lasted, I swear to God, a month. But
Different clientele in Jackson.
Oh yeah, just a little
I
bit.
would have thought.
All right.
Yeah, that's a big one.
You, sir, survived the
He has.
main portion of the interview discussing
Glass.
oath of loyalty. Congratulations. Now
Thank
you
you.
know what happens. You better take a big drink.
What I remember is I really blew the last one. I got
Yeah,
everything
that's why
wrong.
we're bringing it back. We think that this is your chance to
Easier
redeem
though, right?
yourself.
Redemption.
Yeah,
Probably not going to get it, but that's okay.
that's okay. At least we'll give them the false sense of actually doing it. So
Yeah.
anyway, okay. I'm the host today, so I'm going to go up first. And so number one, right off the bat, I want to ask you, did Greg Hurwitz read the arc of your book?
I have no idea.
Okay. So he's a
Why?
big Rhodesian Ridgeback owner.
Yes.
And so I just wanted to ask if
Oh,
he
really?
had read that and if he had reached out. So, okay.
Just because of South Africa, really. they're
Yeah,
pretty
just
popular.
because.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right.
I thought maybe he had.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised you're on the show. Anyway.
Okay. Number two, did you get my text about the paint scratch in the pickup while you were in Spain? Because I told Chris not to touch it, but you know him.
No. What was that?
Sorry, dude.
Okay.
Yeah. You didn't
Well,
notice
you didn't
it?
see it then.
You didn't happen.
No.
Don't look at the rear tailgate at all. Okay.
Well, this my truck. The yeah.
I
So
thought it
that
was
thing-
could have been your neighbors. I don't know.
So that thing when I was driving it back out of storage, and it broke down halfway between Idaho Falls and Wyoming, in the middle of nowhere. So I was up there under like at midnight. I'd been flying for like 40 hours under the dash with my with my phone flashlight app.
Well,
not
so what was
fun.
it? Did you run out of gas?
No, no, it was right after I put gas in it. It happened.
Oh.
The steering column's falling apart. It's just an ignition switch, but I actually have taken it to a restoration place because the thing is just falling apart.
It doesn't look
no
like it.
kidding. No.
Oh, it looks good from a distance, but I mean, it is like if you roll the windows down, they fall out.
Oh, okay. It's a feature.
Yeah,
It's a feature.
All
So
right.
I don't know. I swear to God, I took it there like 3 weeks ago. I've never heard anything.
It'd be
Yeah,
free.
wait till you get the bill. Wait till you get
Also,
the bill.
everybody thought I was nuts because first of all, I'm driving through Wyoming and Idaho, right? So not a big mask were in place, but I had a mask on because a mouse got in it and died.
Oh,
in the
so
cab.
you don't want to get the virus.
No, it
Not
smelled so
monkeypox.
bad. Like the smell was so bad, and it
And
was
they're like,
cold,
who
so I
let the
wanted windows
liberals in
down.
here?
This is Wyoming.
It was not.
Where are your
great.
spurs?
The truck took a beating this year.
Oh man, poor
Storage.
thing. Okay. So how many swear words in Spanish and or Portuguese are you up to now?
I mean, I know them, I guess, not in Portuguese, but I never use them in
Oh.
because swearing is a really interesting thing because there's a huge nuance to it,
Oh.
and
You just can't say shit or f wherever, like throughout it. Like I use it in sentences
he
all the
speaks
time.
Jersey, so it's like part
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
vernacular.
it's-
well, no,
part
but
of
you're an English speaker, so
Yeah.
you understand like where you're going with that,
Yeah.
right? But think about if you're just like, I don't know, a Latino learning English, right? You have to be super careful
Yeah. That's
because there's a
kinda true.
lot of subtlety. So, for instance, the C word, right?
Yep.
Right?
I
No.
used to live in Great Britain. If you
Oh, that's
learned
every
your
third
English
sentence.
there, and then
Oh,
came
yeah.
to the United States, people
pretty
would be
vulgar.
like,
Yeah, I don't use that one.
Yeah.
yeah, but that should, one sentence they'll use it 5 times, right? And for some reason, it sounds better with
It's a
British
noun, it's a verb, yeah.
accent.
That's like shit, right?
Yeah.
No, it's a verb.
Plus, the truth is, swearing in a foreign language,
Not cool.
it's super unsatisfying.
Yeah.
Like it
Doesn't
just
come
doesn't give you
across.
the same.
So if you're speaking Spanish, can you swear in English and you're just like, yeah,
Yeah,
get it.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely do. Yeah.
Yeah. Vamos a la playa. Fuck.
Yeah, totally. Though that specific word is known around the world because it's super satisfying to say.
Yeah.
Because it really
Works a lot
got
for
a big K sound at the end and everything. The translation to that in Spanish would be joder, which is
that doesn't have the same roll off the tongue.
No.
Yeah.
It's not that fun.
All right. Well, you answered my stuff. I guess we're gonna go on to Chris and see what nonsense he's got for you.
I do have some nonsense, but let me see. All right. Kyle, tell us the emotions you felt when you returned to Wyoming and wrapped your hands around that beautiful and please only softly hand wash it. Crew Reviews whiskey glass.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, you can't imagine.
What was that like?
Its first content was a really nice margarita.
Ooh, I don't know. There's tequila. That's kind of a borderline.
It's okay. It's booze.
I love my tequila.
So we gave one
but I don't use it very often because of all the, like chamois and everything.
Gotta wear the white glove.
And it's priceless. We gave one to Todd Goldberg, and he showed us the aftermath of, and it was like the ooh,
the ooh
S's, and that was that.
Did he put it in the dishwasher?
He did, yeah. And then we sent him another one, and he hand washed it, and it still said the ooh something or other. And we're like, dude, just don't wash it.
They're rotting in some warehouse.
Just don't wash
somewhere.
it.
Yeah.
Only drink vodka out of it.
Yeah, the alcohol will kill everything. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Him and his what is he? Lemon drop.
Yeah, lemon drop
drops.
martinis.
Yeah,
These are the greatest.
All right. So, Kyle, are you using the writing app program similar to the one that Rapp was using in Oath of Loyalty? I thought it was that program because he's watching a screen and
so he's talking about the road bike app.
Is it an app? Because I wasn't sure if it was an app.
Writing. I'm sorry. I thought you said writing. I'm like,
no. Writing. Yeah, that's my jersey. That's my jersey. Sorry.
Riding. Yes.
Riding.
Yes. In the off season, I do.
Yeah,
you do.
So it's a PC, and then you actually have a program on it, and then you log on to the internet, and there's a central server that kind of has everybody in on a particular ride.
Yeah.
And
so you can ride against the professionals. With that, dude, that's awesome because I was getting into reading that. I was getting into reading that scene. I'm like, dude, that's really cool. And he was like, my riding coach is going to get upset. And I was like, that's totally Kyle. I love it.
Yeah. When I was reading those sections, I'm like, man, I lived that when I was doing the Masters racing out in California. That was right up my alley. So that was cool.
Dude, heart rate.
Did you have something like that? Because it's fairly new, I think. Yeah.
No. I had it back. Gosh, when I just got out of school. I was in Vegas just starting to practice. So no, this was like 20 years ago.
Yeah. So 20 years ago, I had a thing called a CompuTrainer, but
I had the CompuTrainer too.
Yeah, but now it's super sophisticated.
Yeah, the CompuTrainer was you and some generic, person on
Terminator.
Well, it was you, right? So it was your best time, and you were always chasing yourself, trying to get the new best time. But
right. This is real people and real,
I loved it.
And settings.
Yeah,
and
that's so cool. Made me want to go out and get it, and
you can ride the tour. You can ride whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, you can. There's all kinds of interesting things to do on it.
I would be dead last.
You would be,
I'd get out and walk.
Lantern Rouge would be you.
Yes, I hate being passed.
You're just like too many watts.
You're part of that breakaway group, or no? You're in the pack.
Easier to stay in the pack.
God, you got to draft, baby. You got to stay number 5 spot there.
Yeah, because you get the benefit of the draft on the computer. But,
true.
But they got all kinds of crazy. I don't have all the crazy stuff, but they have the ones that, when you start going uphill, it lifts your fork up. So your thing comes up, and if you hit cobbles, your bike bounces,
shaking you and stuff. Yeah,
dude, that's legit. Pretty soon you put your glasses, and you don't have to look at a screen or anything. It'll just be right on your face.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty cool.
So, that is real, and I could see Mitch using it in his garage.
In the next book, I want to see him in a race. I wanted he's getting shot at, but he's in a race. That'd be pretty cool.
Poor guy keeps trying to get. In fact, I was just writing this, a couple of days ago. Where he's like, I just wanted to get fit again, and people, I've been home for 2 days, and something blows up.
People are trying to kill me constantly. All right. I think this is my last question.
Okay.
You recently posted pictures on your website, kylemills.com, of your visit to Greece, and you've posted photos of your other visits to other countries and cities. And so this is a serious question. The first part of this is two-part. What did you love, or rather, what was the one thing you loved about Greece? And the not so serious question, how many photos have your thumb covering half the lens?
Okay, so the photos with the thumb covering half the lens, every single one. I
love that you posted one, by the way.
Yeah, it's because it was the only one I took. So my wife's a really good photographer.
Yeah,
and every once in a while she'll be like, I need you to take this, because whatever, she's standing on it. Yeah. And then inevitably my thumb's in it.
Like, I'm never in the photos, Kyle. Like, what the hell?
He just wants to get himself in there
somehow. By yourself.
So,
with your photographer.
Apparently.
Which I did feel like that in, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Greece, but that's where all the like beautiful influencers go to.
Sure, you got the columns.
You got walking down and a million people, but there's some girl in a beautiful flowing dress, you know,
sure,
with some guy taking a picture of.
I hate social media.
I know, me too.
Well, as far as what I liked best about Greece,
Greece,
Idra, there's a little place called Idra that you can't have any wheeled vehicles. And so there's no cars, no bicycles, no nothing. Everybody walks everywhere. And
donkeys?
It was very civil. And they're donkeys, yeah.
Yeah, donkeys.
Very civilized.
Large dogs, yes.
Yeah.
Large dogs.
Cats everywhere. I'm not sure about dogs.
A couple of dogs take care of that.
Everywhere.
Well, speaking of taking care of things, you took care of everybody's insatiable appetite for Mitch Rapp in Oath of Loyalty. Holy crap, people. The pacing was phenomenal. You wanted to make more of an action. There was a ton of it, but it didn't feel like it was overdone. It felt like it was a natural flow of things. And that was it made this thing. I mean, I read this thing faster than just, I think, anything I've read this entire year. So this was, I know everybody wants to go blah, 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 blah. When you read this, you'll know why Chris and I are going shit over this, because it is that good, folks.
Yep.
So please go out and get another 6-book deal and put them out every 6 months, because you said that you would on this show, and I'm going to make sure that stays in the programming here.
You topped yourself, man. This is a fantastic read, and I said this earlier before we went on air. I'm like, there's no way you can top the next book. Yeah, you did. And I'm going to say that there's no way you're like the next book we read, the Mitch Rapp book. There's no way you're going to top it, but you do, and I hate you, but I love you. It's awesome,
dude. Thank you. I'm glad you guys.
Let's raise a glass for him.
Welcome back to the States, Palsy.
Cheers, brother. Cheers.
See ya. All right, Christopher, this was an amazing book. I know it's overdone time and again. It's their best. But this is as good as anything that he and Vince have ever written. Folks, this is super fast. It was phenomenal. The pacing is just spectacular. Everything that you expect from Kyle and the storyline. But man, oh man, you're going to fly through this book. You watch. Right?
You're gonna. And shit's going to blow up. Things are going to get things killed, destroyed. You're going to love it.
All the stuff that you expect. So here's to Kyle, Oath of Loyalty. Go get it, folks. Cheers.